Yeah, word. Free Durk. Word. Free Durk. Heard what I said? Free Durk.
Yo, listen. What you're about to hear is one of the most complex, twisted, and dangerous cases to ever hit hip-hop. We're talking about Lil Durk, Chicago's voice, OTF leader, and one of the biggest names in the game, now sitting behind bars facing federal charges that could end his life as a free man. Now, word on the street is Durk allegedly put a bag on Quando Rondo's head. Yeah, you heard that right. A price, a hit. Real street politics turned federal nightmare, but that's not even half of it. Rumors been flying that he was sending shooters to slide on his own block, O Block, the same legendary streets that raised him and King Von. Now look, the internet loves to run wild with fake stories, clout-chasing narratives, and straight-up lies. So we're cutting through all that noise. This breakdown, this is what's really happening with Durk's case. No cap, just facts, evidence, and the cold reality of how deep this situation really goes. Buckle up. Now here's where the legal chess game begins. Durk's trial pushed all the way to 2026. Why? Because the prosecutors needed more time to build their case, or at least that's what they're saying. But Durk's legal team ain't just sitting around waiting. His lawyer, Drew Findling, a heavyweight in the game, filed a motion to have the entire case thrown out, dismissed, gone. But they didn't stop there. Oh no. Durk's team went straight for the jugular and moved to fire the lead prosecutor, Bill Asele, claiming he's been holding his position unlawfully. That's a wild move, right? And get this, other lawyers have been questioning Asele's qualifications too. It's like they're trying to dismantle the prosecution from the inside out. But here's the thing. Even if they succeed in getting Asele fired, another prosecutor's just gonna step up and take his place. The machine keeps rolling. The feds don't stop, and Durk, he's in the fight of his life, trying to buy time, exploit every legal loophole, and punch holes in the government's case before it's too late. So let's talk about this motion to dismiss, because this is where Durk's defense team is really going to war. They're arguing that the feds' charges are too vague. So vague, in fact, that Durk can't even properly defend himself. Think about that. How are you supposed to fight accusations when they won't even tell you exactly what you did? The feds are claiming Durk used coded language to order hits on Quando Rondo, street talk, hidden messages, subliminals. They're saying he promised money or music deals to the shooters as payment. But here's where the defense comes in swinging. They say the feds gave them no specifics, no details, no clarity, just broad, generalized accusations that leave Durk's team guessing about what they're actually being charged with. The motion straight up calls out the prosecution for shifting their narratives to fit whatever conviction goals they're chasing. It's like they're moving the goalposts mid-game. And Durk's lawyers? They're saying this ain't justice. This is a setup, a vague, manipulated case designed to lock him up no matter what. Now, will a judge agree? That's the million-dollar question. Now pay close attention to this part, because this is where it gets really dangerous. The feds are claiming Durk offered money to the shooters, but the defense is demanding proof, actual numbers, actual communications. Show us the receipts. But instead of hard evidence, you know what the prosecutors are doing. They're using Durk's lyrics against him. Yeah, his music, his art. Bars he wrote in the studio are now being treated like confessions in a courtroom. Take the song, Who Wants Smoke. They're quoting lines like, "They be on my page like slide for Vaughn. I know they trolling me." The feds are saying that's not just a bar, that's an admission. And it doesn't stop there. Remember that DJ Academics interview Durk did? The one where he was just talking, being real, speaking from the heart. That's being used against him too. Every word is being picked apart, analyzed, turned into evidence. And now witnesses are allegedly coming forward, linking Durk to a failed hit on Quando Rondo back in 2021 in Savannah, Georgia. This is how the feds operate. They don't need you to confess. They'll take your music, your interviews, your Instagram posts, and build a case around your own words. And that's exactly what they're doing to Durk. But here's where things get wild. New paperwork allegedly surfaced claiming Durk ordered hits on O Block members in 2023. His own people. The same block King Von repped. The same streets Durk came up on. Now, these documents show text messages between Durk and a guy named Booney Mo, and they're reading like a literal hit manual. Durk allegedly texted, "I'm finna pipe it up." Booney Mo responds, "Blood is green. Getting shit together now. No phones. That's cold. That's calculated. That's street code for, we're moving, and we're doing it quietly." Now, according to a witness, Durk paid for a car to be used in the hit. Everything was set. The target was lined up, but it never went down. Why? Because police were swarming the area. Too hot, too risky. So they backed off. But the feds are saying the intent was there. The plan was real. The money was spent. And in federal court, intent is all they need. Whether the hit happened or not doesn't matter. What matters is that Durk allegedly tried to make it happen. And that's enough to bury him. So who was the target? Word is, it was Munna Duke, an O-Block OG and someone who was real close to King Von. Now let's rewind for a second. King Von shouted out Munna Duke in his song Demon. They were tight. They had history. But after Vaughn got killed, things allegedly changed. Durk supposedly wanted Munna Duke dead. And the reason? Because Duke didn't slide for Vaughn, didn't get revenge, didn't ride for his fallen brother. In the streets, that's the ultimate betrayal. You don't let your homie's death go unanswered. But according to the streets, Munna Duke didn't move. And Durk? He wasn't having it. The hit was planned, but Booney Mo and the others backed out. It never happened. Fast forward to 2025. Munna Duke and another guy named Youngin were both shot dead in Chicago. Now here's where it gets messy. Rumors started flying that the killers were tied to Durk and Ghoulie Gang, not O-Block. So even though Durk's locked up, the streets are still saying his name, his influence, his reach. Whether he ordered it from behind bars, or whether it was just street politics playing out on its own, the narrative is already written. Durk wanted Duke gone, and eventually, Duke ended up dead. Coincidence? The feds don't believe in coincidences. Now let's talk about Ghoulie Gang, because this is another layer to the story that connects all the dots. Ghoulie Gang and O-Block, they fell out hard after someone from Ghoulie tried to rob Boss Top. Yeah, you heard that right. An attempted robbery on one of O-Block's big names. That sparked a whole new wave of violence. Shots fired, bodies dropped, tensions skyrocketed. And then, Durk signed a rapper named Chucky from Ghoulie Gang to OTF. That raised a lot of eyebrows. People started asking, why would Durk bring in someone from a gang beefing with O-Block? Was it a strategy? Was it loyalty? Or was it something deeper? And here's where it gets even crazier. People are saying Durk's anger with Munna Duke wasn't just about King Von. There's another rumor that Duke allegedly hooked up with Baby Mama after D-Thang got killed. D-Thang, Durk's own brother. And on top of that, Duke allegedly didn't slide for D-Thang either. So now it's not just about Vaughn. It's personal. It's family. And in Durk's world, that kind of disrespect? That's unforgivable. So whether it was Ghoulie Gang pulling triggers or O-Block handling internal business, the streets are saying Durk's fingerprints are all over it, and the feds are listening. But wait, there's more. The feds are now claiming that OTF was tied to hits on FBG Duck, FBG Cash, and a guy named Stefan Mack. Big names, big cases, big accusations. But here's the thing, most of these claims are weak. Let's break it down. FBG Duck's death? There's been no credible link to OTF. Yeah, there was beef, but the charges didn't stick to Durk. FBG Cash? He was definitely beefing with Durk before he got murdered. But again, there's no proof Durk was involved. Just speculation, street talk. And Stefan Mack's death was linked to D-Thang's killing. But once again, no hard evidence ties Durk to it. And get this, the so-called paperwork that's been floating around, it only used rap names, not legal names. That's a major red flag. Real federal documents use government names, real names, legal identities. When you see a document that just says street aliases, that's usually a sign it's fake. Clout chasing, internet rumor mills working overtime. So while the feds are trying to paint OTF as some criminal enterprise tied to every murder in Chicago, the reality is, a lot of these accusations don't hold weight. But in the court of public opinion, Durk's already guilty. And that's a problem. And that's a problem. Now let's talk about Durk trying to get out, because he's been fighting hard for his freedom. The judge kept denying his bail, over and over. In June 2025, Durk's team offered 4.5 million, plus 24-hour house arrest with ankle monitors, the whole nine. And the judge said, no, denied. Why? Because the feds claimed Durk tried to flee arrest when they first came for him. They said he was caught tampering with witnesses, trying to influence people and manipulate the case. And it gets worse. While Durk was locked up, he got caught with three-way calls, using other inmates to communicate with people on the outside, and an Apple Watch. Yeah, a whole smartwatch in jail. And when authorities found out, he allegedly tried to destroy it. That's obstruction. That's more charges. That's digging the hole deeper. And now prosecutors are asking for an anonymous jury. They want the jurors' identities kept secret for their own safety. Think about that. The feds are saying this case is so dangerous, so volatile, that even the people deciding Durk's fate need to be protected. That's the level we're at. This ain't just a trial. It's a war. So why does the government want an anonymous jury? Because they're arguing that OTF has violent reach, connections, power, influence. They're saying juror safety is a real concern, that if people know who's deciding Durk's fate, those jurors could be targeted, threatened, or worse. But not everyone's buying it. Lil Boozy came out and said the feds just want anonymity, so they can sway the jury toward a conviction without accountability. He's saying it's a rigged game. And honestly, he might have a point, but here's what makes it even more real. The FBI has documented threats, real direct threats from Durk's fans aimed at prosecutors and judges. Messages like, if they get life, I'ma burn this motherfucker down, and free Durk or we gonna shoot that mother up. That's federal evidence. That's on record. So whether you think the anonymous jury is fair or not, the feds have receipts showing that people are really out here making threats. And that's exactly why they're taking these precautions. The stakes are life and death, not just for Durk, but for everyone involved in this case. Witnesses, Jurors, lawyers, nobody's safe. Now let's address the snitching rumors, because the streets went crazy over this one. OTF Diddy, one of Durk's co-defendants, had his lawyer file a motion to separate his case from Durk's, and when that motion dropped, people lost their minds. Why? Because the motion referenced alleged hits on Muna Duke and a guy named Richo. It mentioned a voice note with Durk's alleged instructions about money and getaway cars. It even quoted Durk's lyrics, "Smirk, slide, slide, slide. Don't respond to shit with Vine." Fans immediately thought OTF Diddy was snitching, giving up information, cooperating with the feds, turning on Durk to save himself. The internet went nuclear. But here's the truth. His lawyer wasn't snitching. He was just addressing evidence that already existed. The feds already had those voice notes. They already had those lyrics. The lawyer was simply referencing what was already in discovery, trying to separate his client from Durk's case. It wasn't new information. It wasn't cooperation. It was a legal strategy. But in the streets, the damage was done. OTF Diddy's name is mud now. People think he's a rat, whether it's true or not. And in hip-hop, once that gasoline label sticks, it's over. Your reputation is cooked. Now here's what makes this case even more dangerous. The feds have multiple witnesses, but they're keeping their identities sealed, locked down, hidden. Why? Because they're scared these witnesses could be killed before the trial even starts. We're talking about people who are allegedly willing to testify against Lil Durk, one of the biggest names in Chicago, a man with reach, resources, and a loyal crew. The feds know that if these names leak, those witnesses might not make it to the stand. And if you think that sounds dramatic, just look at the history of Chicago street cases. Witnesses disappear, memories fade, people suddenly don't remember what they saw, or worse, they end up dead. So the government's not taking chances. They're moving in silence, protecting their assets, and building a case brick by brick. And for Durk, he's staring down life in prison. Not 10 years, not 20 years, life. And the wild part? This whole saga has spilled over to the other side of the beef too. Because this ain't just about Durk anymore. NBA Youngboy's name is all over this story, and the drama is far from over. Let's rewind and talk about how we got here in the first place. Because none of this happens without the original beef. King Von versus NBA Youngboy. That's where it all started. Two of the biggest, most volatile talents in hip-hop, and they hated each other. After Von got killed in Atlanta back in 2020, the streets say Durk dropped bags, meaning he put money on heads, ordered hits, wanted revenge. And the target? NBA Youngboy and his circle. Fast forward, Youngboy was on house arrest for years, stuck in Utah, making music but unable to move freely. Then he got released, finally free. And what does he do? Goes on tour, hits the road, performs in front of thousands. But when he tried to book a show in Chicago, Durk's city, at the United Center, it got canceled, shut down. The venue wouldn't allow it. Why? Because the city knew what would happen. Violence, retaliation, chaos. They couldn't risk it. So Youngboy's Chicago date got pulled, and the message was clear. This beef is too hot, too real, too dangerous. Even the venues know better than to let these two worlds collide. But the tension didn't just stay in Chicago. It's been following Youngboy everywhere. At a show in New Jersey, a Durk fan got jumped, attacked, just for yelling "Free Durk" in the crowd. Yeah, you heard that right. Dude was just showing loyalty to his favorite artist, and he got beat down for it word on the street.
Yeah, word. Free Durk. Word. Free Durk. Heard what I said? Free Durk.
Is that the attackers were connected to Youngboy's brother, OG3. Now we don't know if that's confirmed, but the optics? Terrible. And it gets worse. Another viral clip showed a 66-year-old venue worker, an elderly man just trying to do his job, getting beaten at a Kansas City show. The internet went crazy. People blamed Youngboy's fan base, saying his shows are attracting violence and reckless behavior. And here's the thing, Youngboy performs Durk diss tracks like "I Hate Youngboy" at these shows. He's taunting, he's goading, he's pouring gasoline on the fire. And the venues are starting to notice. The Chicago ban wasn't random, it was because of this. The violence, the threats, the chaos that follows this beef wherever it goes. So now Youngboy's touring, but he's doing it knowing that Durk's name, Durk's fans, and Durk's influence are haunting every show. It's a powder keg, and everybody's just waiting for it to explode. So where are we now? Lil Durk remains locked up, sitting in a federal cell, waiting for a trial that won't start until at least 2026. That's months, possibly years of his life on pause while the feds build their case, flip witnesses, and stack charges. His legal team is fighting tooth and nail, filing motions, attacking the prosecution, trying to poke holes in the government's narrative. But the reality is this, Durk is facing life in prison, and the case just keeps evolving. New rumors, new witnesses, new paperwork, real or fake, keeps leaking online. The streets are watching, The culture is watching, and rap politics are tangled all up in this like never before. Because this isn't just a legal battle, it's a story about loyalty, betrayal, violence, and the cost of living the life these artists rap about. King Von is gone, Munna Duke is gone, D-Thang is gone, and now Durk, one of the last men standing from that era, is fighting for his freedom. The feds say he's a gang leader, a murderer, a criminal mastermind. His fans say he's being targeted, railroaded, made an example of. The truth? It's probably somewhere in the middle. But one thing's for sure, this case is far from over. The streets are still talking, the music is still playing, and the next chapter of this story, it's gonna be written in a courtroom in 2026.